Welcome. Great to have you with us on this Wednesday. We'll get things rolling in the only appropriate way a show like this should start, with 49 good San Francisco seconds.
I'll tell you, it was good reminiscing back there. We were talking off air back there about Bill Walsh and how he used to coach this team. I think that's the good 49 seconds for the day. What makes a great coach is knowing when it's time for your players to go.
Sat down with Randy Cross for contract negotiations.
Yep.
And
I remember this.
He said, you have 5 more years left in the league, but only 2 really good ones.
Yep. I can only use you for 2.
I only want the 2 good ones. Yep. Everyone thought that Bill Belichick invented the concept. No,
Bill Belichick, when he was, the one thing he did, he was fired from Cleveland. One of the biggest things he did, Bill Walsh wrote a book, you go back several years, Finding the Winning Edge. It is pretty much, it didn't sell a lot of copies because it was so detailed of a football book.
You read it.
Oh, you're darn right I read it. But it was so detailed of a football book where you literally just confuse the average person. I was confused at the time when I read it too, clearly. Hey, I get it a little more now, but...
I mean, I've heard you on Friday nights. You still are. No,
Bill Belichick read that book, and that's one way I think he's taken a lot of the philosophies he's had from Bill Walsh. There's no question about that, and that was one. Yeah, Bill Walsh was one to know when, okay, your time is up. Now, was he perfect? No. Yeah, there are guys whose times weren't up, but when you have a solid batting average, like a lot of these coaches do, then that's what makes you a great coach, and he did. There's no doubt about it. And you look at, Bill Walsh leaves, other people tried to take that approach and couldn't duplicate it. And you even just prime example with the 49ers, some of the players they got rid of. And Charles Haley had some character issues, yes, but gave up on him a little too soon. I think that's pretty clear, Hall of Famer.
Sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So there's a lot of guys sometimes where you try to duplicate the philosophy, and it just doesn't work. The other thing Bill Walsh did so well was brought other guys in from other teams that made it so much better off of waiver wires. Sure. He was just, it's unbelievable just how great some of these coaches are spotting talent. I could never do that.
Well, I mean, the great ones have always had that ability.
Yeah.
To see something maybe somebody else didn't see. Okay. And that's part of what makes them great. And part of coaching, and Tom Landry talked about this, was the ability to say something you don't want to hear, and then eventually the athlete figures out the reason it was said to them is because now you found out exactly how, what I see in you, how good you can be. And, they do all that. All right, so I don't have to ask you about the 49ers any longer for the week, because the 49 good San Francisco second ended up being almost 49 minutes.
There it is. Wow. All right.
So, no, I'm just kidding. We do have to slip in something about the Pirates here.
Yep.
Here we are into early June. Yeah, have they had a couple of bumps in the road? Yes, everybody's had bumps in the road, right? Except for maybe Tampa Bay. Okay. The Pirates have a legitimate one in Mitch Keller. And to his credit, and to the Pirates' credit, the organization, they allowed him to work through his early troubles in the organization. And I mean, in terms of pitching, not personally, but pitching problems. And he's come out the other side and is a legitimate one. Their bullpen has been really good. Their hitting has been timely. And they are terrific at running the bases. And here they are. Can they make the playoffs? They are in a perfect scenario because their division is not very strong. The Brewers are okay. The Reds are better than I thought they would be. The Cardinals are worse than I thought they would be. And the Cubs are the Cubs. They have a great scenario. I think they have a real shot to make it and win the division. I really do. And again, credit where credit is due. And let's give Derek Shelton some credit. I said for years that I had absolutely no idea how good of a manager he happens to be. None. Because he had never managed a meaningful game in his career. All right. Which meaningful game did he manage? Now, of course, every day is a day where, for him personally, it's a meaningful day to manage. I've got that. But I'm talking about, hey, where the managerial chops happen to be making a difference as to how your team is playing for the long haul. He didn't have any talent to show off any managerial chops. There's no talent. Right? Well, now he's got a good handle on the bullpen. He has a good handle on the lineup, on the clubhouse. And the Pirates are a team where people say, well, they might be a buyer. Do they have to be a buyer? And here's the reason why. Right? They're going to reacquire O'Neal Cruz.
Yeah.
Right? Anybody would like to acquire O'Neal Cruz. They're about to reacquire him. Not this second, but here down the road, they're going to get him back. That's the kind of mid-season acquisition. It just turns out he's on your IL. But that's the kind of mid-season acquisition this team is looking to make. And they've done all this without him. They're going to get him back. And that's the kind of mid-season acquisition, they're not going to trade for anybody that's better. Right?
No,
of course not.
No, and it's a team. You talked about it with the division. I think is the biggest point. The Cardinals are a lot worse than I thought they'd be with all the talent they have. They've got to get better and get better fast, or there's going to be changes of some sort there. Whether it's trading away somebody, whether it's somebody not being back in some way, shape, or form. The Cardinals have way too much talent to be as bad as they are right now. Bullpen, I think, is their biggest issue, but they're going to need to make a change. There is somebody that is going to need to be a buyer or a seller. They're not going to be able to stay put at the deadline. And for me, I think the Brewers are a little bit of a threat, yes. The Reds are a lot better than I thought they'd be.
Yeah, way better.
Absolutely. And the Cubs are... It's funny where this is how sports work, because you look at 2016 with the Cubs and you looked at that team when they won the World Series, you thought that team was going to be good for well over a decade with how loaded that team was, with the prospects they had.
Yes.
I thought they would have been. I thought Bryant was at that point in the peak, starting to peak slowly in his career.
I thought Bryant was...
Yeah.
All right. I thought Bryant was very good.
Yep.
But I never looked at Bryant as great. I thought Schwarber was really good.
Yeah, Schwarber's
didn't look at him great.
He's
Baez,
way
I thought was really good, but did not look at him as great. There's nobody in that team I looked at as great.
There wasn't.
But they also had John Lester and they had John Lackey.
And Joe Madden, which I think helped a lot too.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that was a big part of that. But they made a lot of moves, and give Theo credit, one of the absolute best, to do it, and really built that team via trades. At some point, you brought, you groomed Baez, you groomed, Chris Bryant, but you got guys in there for trades of sending guys you weren't going to re-sign anyway. Right. And that was that's what makes, I think, a GM real good too. We talked about Bill Walsh in the beginning, but another thing is you make trade deadline moves that are like that where you're not going to re-sign a guy anyway. You get rid of him. You get two massive prospects in there, and they produce for you. Sometimes it doesn't work out. The Yankees did that with Clint Frazier with the Cleveland, and didn't work out. Addison Russell doesn't necessarily work out with the Cubs. I think he worked out 2 years until he had his off-field issues, but Yeah, a lot of times those trades work out to the point that these guys are consistent all-stars.
Well, remember that the Pirates acquired with Bird.
Yeah.
And Bird hit a home run in the playoffs. I think it was against Cincinnati. All right. And then they acquired Morneau from the Twins. And Morneau didn't pan out. But to this day, if I were in the position of the Pirates, I would have made that trade. Even in hindsight, I would have made that trade.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And
it just, it doesn't mean it works out.
No.
That at least it showed they were being aggressive. Excellent defensive player. There's a lot of things.
The one time where the Pirates made a move that I didn't agree with it, and look, I'm not only saying this because it didn't work out. I'm saying it because you got away from what you do, and
that's the Archer trade.
Yeah, it's the Archer trade.
And
absolutely.
I was talking to Frank Coonley when he was still the president of the team, and I happened to be there in a box, and Frank found out I was in a box, and so Frank and I, we go back. And Frank's a Penn State guy, right? And he came in the box, and we were just chit-chatting. He says, Steve, he says, it's the one time we strayed from our philosophy.
Yeah.
When they trade Glasnow and Meadows to Tampa Bay, he said, we strayed from it. He said, it's going to haunt us.
Yeah.
And he was right.
Yeah, it sure did. And that's not only what Meadows has done, Glasnow has been incredible when he was healthy. And that's...
Well, Tyler pitched here, by the way, at State College.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily... Going away from your philosophy isn't necessarily not trying to acquire... God, that's going to help your team.
But they gave up
two
of their better prospects.
Exactly. Gave up two of their better prospects to do it.
It wasn't the fact they acquired Archer. It's who they gave up
to get it. Exactly.
To get Archer. Yep. It's not that it wasn't the acquisition of Archer. It was who they gave up.
Sure.
To do it. And so he said that's where they strayed in their philosophy. But look, that's in the past. They're playing well. Mm-hmm. I think PNC Park has a chance to rock this summer.
Sure does.
Because the fans have been aching to see this team play well. They're now about to get that chance to see them in a pennant race, and I think the place will rock. The Steelers didn't make the playoffs.
No.
The Penguins didn't make the playoffs.
No.
And the Pirates, who have been an afterthought in the city, are not an afterthought.
Right.
And I think if they stay within 5 games, either way, up 5, so that 10-game spread, up 5, bottom 5, okay? The fans are going to come out in droves.
Yeah, and they showed that when the Pirates were in contention, early 2012, 2013. They certainly did.
I said on this show back in the 80s and into the early 90s that Pittsburgh was not a good baseball town, right? And I'm not done with the sentence yet for everybody. Just slow down, because it wasn't a good baseball town.
Nope.
Right? They were drawing. They
were winning.
They had phenomenal, exciting teams that other cities would ache to have.
Yep.
And the Pirates were drawing 1.2 to 1.4 million. I'm sorry, you're not a good baseball town. They weren't selling out playoff games. You're not a good baseball town, right? But then in 13, 14, 15, when they had good teams, one team won 98 games.
Yep.
They packed that park.
Sure did.
And in 2013, when they played that playoff game against the Reds, I firmly believe that the atmosphere in other ballparks in the playoffs that year and moving forward was based on what they saw in Pittsburgh that night with Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Because it was a standalone playoff game.
Sure.
And every pitch, fans yelling and screaming and chanting. And suddenly you started watching other playoff games, and they picked up the cue, and they started doing it because of the Pittsburgh fans. They're the ones that started it. And with that ballpark, Pittsburgh went from being a mediocre baseball town when they were graced with Stargell and Clemente and Blass and Moose and Rennie Stennon and Sanguin and Al Oliver and Richie Zisk. I mean, they had players. Mm-hmm. Richie Hebner, they had players. Bill Madlock, they had players. And the fans were like, when's the Steelers season start?
Yeah.
Right? But 13, 14, 15, they showed me they're a great baseball town. That they had transitioned into being a great baseball town in the best ballpark, I think,
yes,
in the majors.
Yes, I think the best ballpark in the majors. You go back to that playoff game in 2013, they had Johnny Cueto rattled in a big way.
Johnny Cueto.
You go back to, I look at that, I go back to that Russell Martin at bat. Right before he hits the home run, Cueto fumbles the ball on the mound, has to walk to go get the ball, and just completely thrown off. Very next pitch, Russell Martin hits it out of the park. That stadium was rocking completely, no doubt about it, and it can do that again. You go back to right before the All-Star break, they were in first place that year, and the sellout crowds at PNC Park and how electric it was, no doubt about it. It became a baseball town, and absolutely right on about the 90s. You go back to, the late great Pat Boland used to tell me the story in 1992 when, Doug Drabeck pitched that gem in game 7 against the Braves. He had bought World Series tickets that night.
Right.
Bought them, not from a secondary market or anything. He'd bought World Series tickets available.
They were available
that night. And of course, obviously Francisco Cabrera gets the game-winning hit. Sid Bream slides in safe, and they don't go to the World Series. But the fans just were not into those teams, even though you had arguably, not necessarily at that time, I would say a top 5, but one of the best players in baseball without question in Barry Bonds, one of the best managers in baseball without question in Jim Leland, one of the best pitchers in baseball in Doug Drabeck. He was at Cy Young level at that point.
Andy Van Slyke.
Van Slyke was there. Bonilla was there. Jose Lean was there. That team was very, very loaded. And, they weren't coming out to the ballpark. And they won that division by a significant margin, too. Yeah, that was a great team.
That's right. But I want to make sure we recognize the Pirates because, you know what? As time has gone, they have continued. Right? It doesn't mean, every team's going to have something where you go, ugh. Well, that's it.
Well, that was it.
No. Yeah. Right? They bounce right back from it.
So it happens. And that's
162 games.
I was going to say, 162 games. You're not going 162-0. You're going to have awful nights. And, by the way, Aaron Judge is back on the disabled list. It's just, I'll tell you.
Or the injured list.
The injured list,
there's a shocker.
Yeah, that's a shocker. Another not so much shocker, and he's going to get made fun of for this, and you feel terrible for him right now, and you just see his press conference and the tears that came down his eyes. Jacob deGrom going to the needing Tommy John surgery.
I was in the Spikes clubhouse last night. We were talking about this, and I said, I feel awful for him because
I certainly do.
I feel awful for him. I said, but from the Texas Rangers' point of view, I said,
they knew.
I said, not a question they knew.
They knew what they were getting.
But I said, this is why if I'm in management, I don't sign guys like that. I said, I don't.
I was never.
It is not the money. It's not the money.
Well, it's the length of the deal. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Idealistically, and again, ideals don't.
Yep.
Okay, you have to be realistic about what's going on. Idealistically, my preference would be if I'm a GM, pitchers no more than 3 years, position players no more than 5.
Yeah, and all the time. That's not the case.
Right. Now, that's not going to happen. I'd be losing out on a lot of guys.
No, you're going to have, you'd be losing out on a significant amount of guys. And, knock on wood, I hope I don't jinx the guy at the moment. But the only one to me that has worked out so far has been Bryce Harper. And that's, he's got several years left on that deal. Manny Machado has played well, not to the level that he should be playing at with that deal. But, a lot of other 10-year deals. Plus, I go I look at Albert Pujols. This guy is going to go, to me, one of the top 5 to 10 players I ever saw.
But again,
that was a terrible deal with the Angels.
10-year deal.
Yeah, 10-year deal.
10-year, $240 million.
Yeah. Robinson Cano, 10-year deal. Terrible deal.
Right. I mean, Dustin Pedroia.
Same thing.
8-year deal. Right.
Terrible deal.
Right.
Matt Kemp. These deals, you can go on, were just absolutely awful.
That's why I look at like Xander Bogaerts, Trey Turner. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, it's not that Trey Turner is a bad player. He's a good player. Xander Bogaerts is a good player who's been a part of 2 World Series winning teams. But you're giving them 10, 11, 12 years?
$300 million. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
No, and it makes no sense whatsoever, especially a guy like Turner, and I'm not knocking him because of the year he's had. He's had a tough year. He's been around. So, when those contracts are up, these guys are going to be approaching the complete end of their career if they don't reach it by year 6 or 7 in the deal. So it's to me is not even a double-edged sword. I'm with you. I'm a firm believer where you really have to be careful doing that. And you even I'm talking about some of the all-time greats there. I named Pujols, Miguel Cabrera is another one. These guys are Hall of Famers. There's not a shadow of a doubt when Cooperstown comes calling first ballot, those 2 guys are in. Yeah. Unless there's some kind of cloud that we don't know about, because they are in, and they signed those deals and they weren't good deals. So to me, as a GM, it is tough to have to sign a player to that kind of contract. But to your point earlier, if you don't, you miss out on them because it's so competitive at this point in baseball, signing these free agents. And the same goes for pitchers. These pitchers are getting massive deals. Yep. Garrett Cole has earned it. I think very clear as day.
Chris Sale?
Chris said, oh man, yeah, Chris Sale's another one you just got to feel terrible for too. It felt like he was back this year with how good he was playing, how well he was playing, and same thing, back to the injured list.
Hey, but Chris Sale's been like that ever since they signed him.
Sure has.
Was the Sale trade worth it?
Yeah.
The Sale trade is worth it for this reason. Who got the last 3 outs of the 2018 World Series?
Sure did.
All on strikeouts.
Yep.
He did.
Yep.
All right. Okay, good enough.
Who struck out to end the World Series? The guy that got $300 million.
Okay. Right. And just like John Lackey really did nothing for the Red Sox until 2013, was brilliant, and in the playoffs was brilliant.
Yep.
So was it worth acquiring him? Yes.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So at that point, the ends justified the means. But
sure.
But that's when you look at guys like that and what they can do. Heat and Nuggets tonight. So it's now really up to Denver to make a couple of adjustments to what's going on. I think the biggest adjustment is the 2 biggest adjustments. Number one, making sure that you were out on the shooters. And number 2, hit your shots from the outside.
Yeah, hit your shot. Yeah, absolutely. And that goes to the point. And the number 1, get out on the shooters, because if Miami can hit their threes, they're tough to beat. They showed that in Game 7 against the Celtics. They showed that in Game 2 against the Nuggets. Right. The second part of that, gurus have been saying since Game 2, and it's a great point, that Jokic has to get closer to 10 assists. Yes, he does, but in order for that to happen, you got to make your shots. That's exactly where the problem is.
That's the biggest. That's what you can talk about. He only had 4 assists.
Yeah.
Well, he probably would have had 10 if they made their shots.
Yeah. Murray is a great. Now you know what? I'm not going to say great. He's a good player that has to be more consistent.
But Murray's a legitimately great shooter.
Yeah, great shooter. He's just got to be that 4-quarter player. That's what he steps up in the 4th. I give it to him all the time. Hits big shots. Great shooter. But you just need that You got that consistency out of him. He's a consistent all-star. He's a top 15 to 20 player in this league if you can get that consistency out of him. That's where they've been struggling to get from him, and you need that in this series because Miami's going to come to play in South Beach. Who knows what's going to happen with Tyler Hero, but
Miami has not been a good home team in the playoffs.
Nah, nobody's really been very good team at home, and the Celtics have been terrible at home. The Sixers were awful at home, and so nobody's really been. So home court's not been great, but the finals you're going to have. I do like the switch back to where you went 2-2-1-1-1. I think that was huge. The home court advantage.
Yeah.
When you went for 3, you lose game 2, game 1 or 2, you're done. We've seen that how many times. You look at Miami and Miami and Dallas, and 2006 or whatever year that was, where Dwayne Wade won his first final.
Right.
You lose 3. You go up. Those 3 middle games, even when you're up 2-0, are huge. The Heat win those 3, they win the championship in game 6. So I like this switch to 2-2-1-1-1, but I still, you're going to have to steal one of those middle games, I think, in Miami if you're the Nuggets. I think you got to kind of get back on track.
They have to. They have no choice. They don't have the home court advantage anymore.
Middle two.
Yeah, but they have to win one game there.
Yeah, got to win one in the middle, too. Well, they have a choice. They can go down 3 games to 1 if they want to.
Right. They have to win a game in Miami.
Well, a game, yes. I'm talking about 3-4, though. They've got to take one of those. I feel like you've got to seize back home court immediately. That way, it doesn't become a mental game, which I think it very well could be if you fall down 3 games to 1 in a big way. But the most important part, coaches here used to say sometimes it's that simple, and it is that simple. So you just got to make your shots.
Yeah,
it's as easy as that.
Yeah, so
because your best player is a lot better when you make your shots.
Right, and again, they talk about, you made Jokic a shooter. Well, he scored 41.
Yeah, he became more of a shooter because you weren't hitting your shots, and he had no choice.
So somebody had to score.
Did Miami, to an extent, turn him into that? I guess, but that wasn't entirely their defense that did that. That was the Nuggets not hitting their outside shots early on. Second quarter, they were on fire. Right. After that, fourth quarter, they came out very cold.
Yeah. All right. So that is coming up tonight. We'll leave it to ESPN Radio and their affiliates across the country to do 24/7 NBA Finals coverage.
That's accurate.
Oh.
That is accurate.
Just. You ask yourself, are they capable of talking about anything else? And are they capable of talking about anything with depth?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
It's truth. It's the truth. And we are now at the point, we're in the first week of June where you could be talking NFL.
I mean, we are not an ESPN affiliate any longer.
Right.
No offense. Listening to that stuff on a daily basis was having water dripping your forehead. You got to be kidding me. Like, really?
Yeah. Oh. I get hammering into the stuff you are contractually obligated to air and trying to get that deal. I get that.
I understand.
But the other part of it, you just got hockey. And where's your hockey coverage been for the last, probably 2 weeks at least? Now I know you didn't get the Stanley Cup there in game 1 and 2 there, but I didn't hear about it. Yeah. That's to me is you're absolutely right. It's unfortunate.
They talk about the NFL.
Yeah.
They talk about the NBA.
Yeah.
And even during the NFL season, they try to slip in as much NBA as possible.
Exactly.
Like, I got it. I know you're spending $1.4 billion a year on the contract. I got it. Okay. Yep. But they'll sit there breaking down, and their concept of what breaking news is. Breaking news, right? Right. Orlando Magic, everybody's like, okay, over here in the back, let's do a quick poll. Does anybody know who the head coach of the Orlando Magic happened to be? It's not breaking news if they don't know who it is.
Nope.
It's not.
No.
Right. Okay. It's like if the Oakland breaking news, the A's fire their manager. Breaking news, okay, let's do a quick poll. How many of you know who the manager of the A's is?
Exactly.
Right. How many of you even know the A's have a team?
Apparently not too many people in Oakland, even though they've been there for as long as they've been there.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, no,
think about Oakland.
Unbelievable and sad.
Let's go back 7 years.
Yep.
7 years ago, Oakland had the A's, and they were good.
Yeah.
right? Yeah, not going to win the World Series, but a playoff contender.
Yeah.
They had the Oakland A's, they had the Oakland Raiders, and they had the Golden State Warriors. That's all in Oakland.
That's all in the Bay Area. Yep.
Now, the Raiders are in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
The A's are attempting to go to Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And the Warriors are in San Francisco.
San Francisco. Yep. Yep. And a lot of that is the unwillingness of Oakland to spend money, and that's not just the A's. That's everything.
Right.
Yep.
But when something like this happens, you always have these economic studies that are put out by somebody who's sitting in a room and has no real life experience. Okay. Okay, great.
I always like a recent study shows. Which, where, who?
And what's the impact of a sports franchise on a city? And they'll go through restaurants and hotels. It really isn't as great as people think it is. Okay, great. All right.
Not at all. No, not.
Tell the owner of the restaurant, the bar, the hotel. All right, you talk to them about the economic impact.
That's bad.
But there's another perception too. Okay, it's the front porch of the city.
Sure.
Guess what? Right? It gives the perception that you're a major league town. And the perception that you're a major league town could be the perception that maybe brings a company or two into town, or brings more residents to live in the area, because there's a perception you're a major league town. You lose franchises, and people go, well, maybe it's not such a great place.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you right now, ever since the Whalers left Hartford, they've had decline.
Oh, big time. Yeah, and there's no doubt.
Decline.
Yeah.
There's no getting around it. Even in a minor league team, Pawtucket Providence, they lost the Red Sox to Worcester. Right? Again, perception. Mm-hmm. You have to have a feel for what perception is. Numbers don't tell you perception.
No.
Numbers don't give you feel. Okay? You have to understand landscape, okay, and what it means. Mm-hmm. But again, a survey says, our study shows, okay, did you leave the office at all? Did you walk?
No.
Sometimes management by walking around is good.
Yeah.
No? You didn't walk around? You didn't go to the place. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah. Recent study shows that having a baseball game on a Friday night does not impact businesses at restaurants or any other stores on a Friday night. Come on.
Especially if the game's on the road.
Yeah.
All right, so... But Oakland's now going to have that perception.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's absolutely no question.
Jeez, boy. Must be tough times there. That's the perception. Must be tough times there. Everybody left. Oh.
Yeah.
Right?
That's accurate.
Right? That's perception.
Yeah.
I didn't say it has to be.
The problem is perception is the old cliche. It's reality, and it is.
Reality.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And suddenly, what looks like a hot place to be? I mean figuratively, not literally. Las
Vegas. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
They're about to have 4 major league franchises in that city.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Well, it's been for many years, and I give credit again. We talked about commissioners yesterday. I give a ton of credit to David Stern and Adam Silver. The NBA is what cracked the Las Vegas egg. Right away, they had an all-star game there. They wanted to have a professional franchise there. They were the one that came in and said, we've got to have it. They have.
They've had the summer league there.
They got everything else there, too, though.
They're going to get an expansion team.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
and I think the lead bidder is going to end up being John Henry and Fenway Sports Group.
Yep, agreed.
You're like, well, why would the Fenway Sports Group bid for an NBA expansion franchise? Who is one of the minority stakeholders in the Fenway Sports Group? LeBron James. All right. So yes, your beloved Pittsburgh Penguins. It may be a slice, but LeBron's one of your owners. Did you know
and,
that?
And it's a big reason why there's, you're looking at the teams that are up for, your cities that are up for expansion. You do put Pittsburgh in the conversation, though I don't think they're going to get there. I think you put
Pittsburgh
no,
will not be,
no,
absolutely will not be in it. For an NBA franchise?
For an NBA franchise.
NBA franchise, here you go. It would be Seattle.
It's going to be
Las
Seattle,
Vegas,
Las Vegas,
Louisville.
Yep.
Okay, those would be the first three right away that would get the long, hard look to get two. Okay, Seattle, Las Vegas, Louisville.
Yep. And if the Wizards were not in existence, I think Baltimore would be in the conversation. Wizards, unfortunately,
Baltimore doesn't have
I don't want to say unfortunate.
Baltimore doesn't have an
They
arena.
don't. It's true. They don't. Used to, but it's too small. And that's true.
I mean, it's still there.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a good point.
I mean, the issue is they don't have that.
Yeah. But, and I think, to me, Las Vegas is almost a lock. I think that's absolutely certain. I think Seattle will probably be the other one. Because I think the realization came in when they moved them to Oklahoma City. Probably not even 3 years after that, okay, we should have a NBA franchise back in Seattle. Because
they almost had the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah.
Steve Ballmer and his group thought they had it. I mean, really thought they had it. And then Kevin Johnson, who at the time was the mayor in Sacramento, crafted the deal to build the new arena, which is supposedly spectacular. So Ballmer and his group got aced out, and then he ended up buying the Clippers.
Yep.
So, yeah. After setting the tone with 49 mediocre San Francisco seconds.
You never say mediocre and Bill Walsh in the same sentence. Oh, no way.
Did he win every year?
Well, no.
That's right.
They did win every year. Did Chuck Noll or Bill Belichick win every year?
Almost. No, I'm just
I'll tell you what, Bill Belichick especially, man. That's say what you want about that Patriots dynasty. They were every year in the conversation.
Yep.
Every year.
So Rory McIlroy. Okay.
Is right. You can say that right away.
First of all, as I said yesterday, I've only interviewed him on 2 occasions. Each time I walked away saying, what a guy.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody seems to like him. But he's at the Canadian Open. He did find out before the announcement, so let's start with that. His quote today was, I still hate live. Like I hate live. I hope it goes away. And I would fully expect that it does. I think that's where the distinction here is. This is the PGA Tour. The DP World Tour is very different from live. It's hard for me not to sit up here and feel somewhat like a sacrificial lamb and feeling like I've been putting myself out there and this is what happens. Good for you, Rory, for saying it.
Heck yeah.
Because he is right.
100% right on.
He is right.
Yep.
Okay. Now, there's been criticism about the negotiations with Yasser Al-Rumayyan, the governor of the Saudi Arabian Sovereign Wealth Fund, which is financing LIV. And basically, he was asked if he has confidence in Jay Monahan. He said, quote, I do. All right. And look, I've dealt with Jay a lot closer than a lot of other guys have because he's on their council.
Right.
From where we were a couple of weeks ago to where we are today, I think the future of the PGA Tour looks brighter as a whole and as an entity. Okay. Tuesday, Monahan met with 100 PGA Tour players, and it was heated.
What? No.
Good for them. McIlroy said much of the frustration came from the players who are trying to keep their PGA Tour cards, and guess what? They fear losing it. Because guess what? If the merger happens, well, Dustin Johnson's going to get a card, and Bryson DeChambeau's going to get a card, and Brooks Koepka's going to get a card, and Harold Varner III is going to get a card. You know, you start going through all these guys, they're all going to get, these guys are going to get cards. I mean, do you expand it? To accommodate? So there's still has to be consequences to actions, McElroy said. The people that left the PGA Tour irreparably harmed the tour, started litigation against it. Like, we just can't just welcome them back in. That's not going to happen. Right? But if you look at Mickelson, Koepka, Johnson, DeChambeau, I mean, no offense, but people want to see Rory McIlroy play.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They want to
Sure.
see him play. All right? But they want to see Mickelson play.
Yeah.
Right? They want to see Jordan Spieth play.
Yeah.
They want to see Koepka play.
Yeah.
Right?
Want to see DeChambeau hit at
They want to
350.
see DeChambeau hit 350,
Yeah.
400. They want to see Dustin Johnson play.
Yeah.
Okay? They want to see that. Okay? There are some very good players on the PGA Tour, but the fans aren't interested in seeing them. So what do? Do you expand the number of tour cards? I don't know.
Yeah, you walk a tightrope without a doubt. And now, that's why, point you made yesterday, for the fans, this is great. For the players, Rory McIlroy just said everything that everybody else is thinking, and in my opinion, this is, and I'm glad the word, we can pat ourselves on the back for using this word first yesterday. Hypocritical came out.
Yep.
Because that's exactly what it
is.
was. Exactly what it was. It was an awful job where there was literally consequences on the LIV guys for taking part over a year ago. Now suddenly, look what happens. And for that reason, so many people turned down money that is now being taken by the people telling them to turn it down. So.
Well,
That defines the word hypocrite.
now the question is, do you, in this merger, mix in a couple of 54-hole tournaments? Do you, in this merger, allow players in certain tournaments to wear shorts? Right? Do you, in certain tournaments, allow music to be played? This is what happens on the LIV Tour. They wear shorts, there's some music being played, it's more of a party atmosphere, and they play 54 holes. Do you have, and there's the team out. The team aspect's going to happen in some form. There's going to be some sort of team aspect to it, like LIV has. But do you adopt any of that along the way? I mean, you're playing. It's 95 degrees.
Yeah.
It's 95 degrees at Congressional in July.
Right.
I don't know if they're playing at Congressional in July or not, but it's 95 degrees at Congressional in July. Do you make the players wear long pants?
It's true.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, times have changed.
Big time. Big time.
Right? They used to wear ties. You know that. They used to wear ties in tournaments. Yeah. Don't wear ties anymore.
Not quite.
No?
Not quite.
Okay.
I don't think those massive companies that sponsor these people are providing ties for clothing.
But do you allow them maybe to start wearing shorts? Do you mix in a couple of 54-hole tournaments? Right? Do you, I don't know. It's going to be well funded. McElroy said, I told Jay Monahan, you have galvanized everyone against something, and now they are our partners. The Saudis want to spend money in golf, and it's not going to stop. How can we get that money into golf and use it the right way? It's hard to keep up with the people who have more money than anyone else. It's one of the problems I've had with you over the years.
That's right. I'll tell you. Yeah, I try to hide it. I really do, but
yeah, that stupid T-shirt. No.
That's right. And it was a free T-shirt too, no less. So
that's how you get to be rich. You understand how to get the freebies.
The freebies on opening night. You know, going in every year, the Phillies are going to give that opening night T-shirt out. So, got to make sure you get that. It's your clothing apparel for the next year until you get the other one.
Right. McElroy said, I think ultimately when I try to remove myself from the situation, I look at the bigger picture, and I look at it 10 years down the line, I think ultimately it's going to be good for the game of professional golf. I think it unifies it, and it secures its financial future. It does do that, and again, it's great for the fans because they don't care about the politics. They hate the bickering. They didn't like the separation. Look at when the majors have been played where everybody actually came together and people loved it.
Right.
And nobody sat there and went, hey, Brooks is a live guy. They don't care Brooks is a live guy.
Yeah,
right?
No, they certainly don't care.
They just watched the guy win his 5th major of his career. All right. Right? Guess what? Mickelson made that run and finished 2nd at the Masters. You think the fans went, oh, no, there he is. It's Phil Mickelson. We can't root for him. They're like, he's back. He's here. He didn't play here last year. Look how great he's playing. Look at the finish. They're all excited, the whole thing. And then Rahm, who's very popular on the PGA Tour, won, which was a very popular win. People don't care about this stuff.
No.
They don't care about the politics of it. They don't care about the bickering. Right? Now, do they care? Now, are there people who care where the money's coming from? I think they do.
Yeah.
I think there's a big concern about the heavy Saudi money influence about it. That
without question.
Even the casual fans like, I don't know, this doesn't feel
right.
But it also will fade in their memory as they buy their tickets for the respective tournament. Where it's the Canadian Open. Now the U.S. Open's coming up. It's a USGA event. It's not a PGA event. It's a USGA event. Then they'll go to, I think they go to TPC Cromwell after that. They start to make the New England swing.
Yeah.
But they'll when it goes into 2024 and they start to get what the details happen to be about the merger and how it's going to work and how it's going to operate. Right? There won't be any of this nonsense about the Ryder Cup. And casual fans care about the Ryder Cup.
Big time. Right? Yeah. Agreed.
Casual fans care about the Ryder Cup because it's the U.S.
It's the U.S.
And to me, that should have been one of the elements that was put in here, that live players, okay, now that we've merged, we believe live players should be considered for captain's picks, right? If you decide there are no live players you want on there, fine. If you want one as a captain's pick, great. Brooks Koepka. You're telling me the idea is to put the best out there. I'll never forget. I've been using examples from the past because history is a great teacher. That's why I brought up kart and IRL yesterday in IndyCar racing.
In the merger, yeah.
Right, 12 years.
Yeah.
Hey, money.
Let's compete.
Egos.
Let's compete against the Indy 500.
Egos,
and have the
money.
US 500.
Money, egos, money. Right. The sport has never recovered.
No.
The sport has never recovered from that 12-year deal. Never.
Not at all.
Right?
No, it's been.
So I'll give you an example of an international competition where you cut off your nose to spite your face. Right? Summit Series, 1972, Team Canada against the Soviet Union. Right? Now, Team Canada is not quite at full strength for 2 reasons. One, Bobby Orr, who was just coming off a Stanley Cup, had knee surgery and couldn't play. Right? That was a huge loss. And they didn't have Bobby Hull. Why didn't they have that Bobby Hull? Because he signed with the WHA. Over here in the back, this is Team Canada, okay? But it was put together by the NHL Players Association. Alan Eagleson, so forth. No Bobby Hull. So, yes, Canada won the series 4-3-1. Right? Had to win the last 3 in Moscow, and Paul Henderson scored the game winner. Esposito was phenomenal. But they didn't have Bobby Hull. Now, Orr they didn't have because of an injury. So you're telling me if you have a healthy Orr and you allow Bobby Hull to play, right? How many games do you think the Soviets win then?
1.
2?
Yep.
Right? But instead, you know, I'm sorry, we don't need them. Over here in the back, I think you do. Right? So that's my international example. Right? Guess what? The United States is facing Europe. Right? If you don't think Brooks Koepka can help you win, then don't put him on.
Yeah.
I also would label you a complete idiot.
Yep.
Because in the first half of the year, you've had guys win tournaments. Who's been the best player that has played so far in the biggest tournaments? It's easily been Brooks Koepka. For 7 of the 8 rounds of major tournament golf, he's been the best player. 7 out of 8 rounds, he's been the best player. You're telling me he shouldn't be considered for the Ryder Cup? Really? Okay. Don't make Brooks Koepka Bobby Hull.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the United States against Europe. Is he an American citizen? Okay, American citizen who can play great golf, qualified, good.
Yeah.
I'm all good. I'm just saying that's what, right? And it doesn't have, because they do the world rankings, and I think it's the top 12, I think, get automatic in or something like that.
Yeah.
But then you get a couple of captain's picks. Well, the captain's pick, they can pick anybody they want. Right? In this agreement, I would hope somebody said, hey, can LIV players be considered for captain's picks for the Ryder Cup? I mean, it doesn't take place till the fall. I don't know. Just thought I'd bring it up.
True, though.
Yeah. Maybe. Let's see. Great player, American. Well, those are the 2 qualifications I think I need.
Yep. Sounds about right.
All right. Well, another day where you did everything you could to destroy the show.
Takes effort.
It takes effort. You're so goal-oriented. Tomorrow, by the way, James Franklin and the coaches are going to be with the media tomorrow.
Yep.
So we'll be able to talk about a few things about that. And then I get to hit the road and go to Scranton.
Nice.
Mike Rhodes and I will be up in Scranton tomorrow night. All right. So, yeah. Once again, you were busy.
Yep.
I did.
Yep.
Every time I go to these things, we ask Jason, you're the backup. I'm like, you got to get yourself out there.
I'll tell you. Mike Rhodes has seen my hometown enough.
I noticed he moved. All right.